Great. Hi, everyone. I'd like to call the April 6, 2026 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors Workshop Meeting to order at, it's like 7 o'clock, so we'll go with 7 o'clock. In attendance are Chair Donna D., Vice Chair Jim Johnson, Supervisors Dawn Dowling, Antia Consorto, and Nancy Wittes. Also in attendance are the Solicitor Guy Donatelli, he's online, Operations Manager Jeff Eastburn, Township Controller and Office Manager Melissa Ortega, and our Township Secretary Stacy House. There are what about? That's seven, thank you. In public. All right, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? So you have three main agenda items we want to cover today's meeting. And the first is the grant strategy. As many as you know that we have multiple expenses, multiple things that we want to accomplish. And we put together a subgroup, it was Nancy and Tia and Dawn, to look at grants that are available and whether they made sense for us to apply. So I'm going to just turn it over to Antia, and she'll take us through what the group has found.
Okay, thank you. So we went through and tried to prioritize the list that we had, as a board, made up of priorities for Franklin Township. Obviously, one of the biggest priorities is MS4 and our stormwater management. We did get a grant from the LSA for $250,000 last year that will apply to MS4 this year to help us out with those costs. So we already have that. I was able to secure $250,000 from Senator Kane through his discretionary funds this year. So that will be coming our way to help with other stormwater projects within the township. And we've looked at some other grants for this year, two that Pannoni will be going after for Franklin Township for MS4. One is from DCED and another one from DCNR. Because we're already going after one grant from DCNR, we won't be going after any other DCNR grants this year. They recommend you only apply for one grant per year. Otherwise, it's looked unfavorably upon you. And then there's also a grant that Nancy was looking at for the 250th anniversary that's specifically for celebrations for that. And there is no match. So we'd be able to get money for that without having to pay any match funds. If they haven't run out. Based on our budget this year, we thought the smart move, and based on the timeline, a lot of these grants are due by the end of April, which doesn't give us a whole lot of turnaround time to get a lot of the documents that they want together. So between that and match money issues, because our funds are so low within the township, we thought that it would be best that these are the grants we stick with for 2026. And then we have a list of grants for 2027 that we can go after and start preparing now and throughout the summer to get ourselves ready so that next year when the applications are due for 2027 grants, we're ready to hit the ground running. And we recommended that perhaps for the 2027 budget, we look into putting a line item in the budget somewhere for grant match money. Because right now, the way the budget is for 2026, there's no wiggle room if we have a 50-50 match grant or something of that nature. The money's just not there. So if we can figure out, an approximate amount that we want to set aside for match money, at least it gives us a start so that if we were to receive a grant, there's money there for us to put into match funds.
Just to comment for matches. So, and I think you know this, that if it's like an MS4 activity, matching isn't a problem because we know we have to spend.
Correct.
But if it's like an item that's dear to, I think, a lot of our hearts, say it's equipment, playground equipment, that's something we don't have in the budget. So that, like you said, that maybe it might make sense to have some money in there for the match.
Correct.
To be clear, that's 2026 budget in 26 or 27 budget in 27?
27 budget in 27. So what we want to do is try to make a line item for next year's budget that we can try to allocate funds for match money. Because a lot of these grants, if you look at them, are either a 50-50 match, or they have $100 plus $100 application fee, or they're a 15 or 20% match. Some of them are, for the first 30,000, there's no match, but then every dollar after that, you have to match that money, and the grant starts at 60,000. So that means we still need to come up with $30,000. So there's a lot of fees that go along with getting grants. It's for the most part, not just free and clear money. And this year, given that we already brought in, at this point, we have $500,000 that we're playing with not playing with, but that we received for grant money between MS4 and stormwater. That's already helping a big chunk of our fees there. And then with Pannoni going after the 2 grants that they're going to go after for us for MS4, I think it's not a bad start to our grant.
Yeah, and I think so thank God for Senator Kane. We love, we love Senator Kane and the fact that we actually get money. But for the LSA grant, that's one where we got to spend it first. So, and then even, so I know it's a good idea to have a match for things that are a budget item for matches, but you got to say once again, I go back to playground equipment. Say we got $100,000 grant for playground equipment. I don't even know if that's possible to say we did. We still have to come up with $100,000 because we have to spend it first before we get the money back. So
yeah, so a lot of these grants do work as reimbursement grants, which means we have to have the money in the budget to spend, and then eventually they will reimburse us. Which is what the LSA grant is. It's a reimbursement grant. So we have to spend that $250,000 and then they'll eventually reimburse us.
we're going to spend it.
Senator Kane's money has no match. It's not a reimbursement. They're just sending us the $250,000 for us to use towards stormwater. So we didn't have to worry about that there. But a lot of the grants, you're right, are reimbursement grants. And I know one of the things we were looking at when we looked at the grants was whether they were a reimbursement grant or if it was just match money. So we're trying to not avoid, but if it's a reimbursement grant, it doesn't make sense in our budget. Maybe we go after something else that's not a reimbursement that has a lower match.
Gotcha.
So that's the strategy. And I think for 2026, we didn't put the subcommittee didn't start until late February. So trying to turn around in a month and have stuff ready. Some of these grants are asking for, things all the way down to having bids and having estimates for costs and like professionally done from the contractors. Everything needs to be lined up. We need to be able to hand that to them for them to even consider giving us grant money, which, less than a month is just not going to happen.
And we'll keep getting together every once in a while, quarterly or so, just to watch out for new grants that may come up. Bless you.
Nancy, will you not, I'm glad to hear that. I was going to ask what's the next steps, but will you also work together to get the grants applications in? I know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of, you guys will continue to work together.
Yes.
And then you'll bring,
As a grant comes up that we need to bring to the board to ask, do we have permission to go after this? As long as we have all our ducks in a row, that's what we'll do. We'll bring it to the board. We'll say, this is a grant that we think we could use for X, Y, and Z item. And we have all the paperwork ready to go. Can we submit? And that'll depend, I'm sure, on the budget and whether it's a reimbursement grant or what kind of match it has. But we're also taking that into account when we're looking at the grants. So we'll have an idea of what we're looking at before we even come to the board. So
I think we may come to the board a little bit earlier because
Correct.
there may be things that we need to pull that grant stuff
Correct.
together.
Yes.
So if you need an engineer or you need
Right.
something like that.
So that's, if anybody has any questions, let me know, but otherwise that's where we are with grant money. Again, it was great that we have the 250 from Senator Kane. And again, the LSA grant is a reimbursement, so we're going to spend that money and I don't know the timeline to get it back. It could be months before that money comes back into the budget.
Right. The nice thing about the LSA grant, well, first, it was nice to have it, but we have activities that we are going to be spending money on within the year. So it's not
Yes.
like we have to wait 5 years before we get it back. There's going to be, there's engineering work that has to be done. There's a whole bunch of, and Pannoni's on top of this. So they know that there's a piece of work that we can get. So we have to wait till we spend $1 million. It may be 250,000. And then we can apply for it and we get that money back. So the MS4 I don't worry about, in the sense that, and if we get $10, I'm thrilled because it's $10 we don't have to spend. It's other stuff. I do have a question to ask about Walker Road. What's
Okay.
going on with Walker Road Bridge?
So the Walker Road Bridge, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but we discuss this every time we have heavy rains and things of that nature, it floods.
Okay.
So one of the things that's been discussed is replacing the bridge and putting a walking trail alongside of it to make it safer for people that are walking the road, and redoing that so that it does not flood, handle the flood waters and things of that nature. And that's why we have that listed down for the MTF, the Multimodal Transportation Fund grant, because that's something that would directly apply to. They're the MTF grants are very, very strict in what you can apply for.
Okay.
But reading the entire grant book, it looks like that would be a project that would apply for that. So if we decide at some point in the future, it may not be 2027, we just listed it there so that we don't lose track of it. But if in the future we're ready to do a project like that, we know we can go back and look at this MTF grant and look into it, because it is, again, it's a 50-50 match and it is a $100 application fee. So we need to be sure that we want to do it and commit to putting that money forward. Okay.
A quick one. Is there, I'll mention the one thing in 2027 I wanted to mention was the security at Crossan Park. Is there an opportunity to pull that forward to 26 for any of these grants? Because
Do you mean the internet access?
Internet access.
it's, yeah, but it's
It
one
was-
and the same. I'm calling it the
right.
same thing.
So we had looked at grants for that for 2026 and sorry, feedback. The few grants that we had identified for that, either we were not eligible or the turnaround was like the due date was February 30th or February, the end of February, end of March, something like that. The turnaround was too fast and we just wouldn't be able to get the documents together in time. Because again, the documents that they ask for these grants are extensive. It's not, a matter of filling out a form and saying, hey, we want to put internet access here, or hey, we want to do that. You need to come up with a list of documents that take time to put together, because you've got to hire somebody to come and, give you that information. You've got to get the contractors out there and things of that nature.
So we could work on that in 26 for early 27.
Correct. And that's, all these 2027 things are things that we're working on now. We're looking to figure out what we're going to put in the budget, how we're going to handle that, and identify what we can start putting stuff, like if there's stuff that does not require, contractors and the township to put money out, if there's documents that we can start putting together now that just take time to put together, we can start doing that now. And then as we get closer, if they're requiring contractors or they're requiring, us to have advertised for bids and stuff like that, we can do that in the future. It's just some of these grants, we're looking for us to put out things to bid, which in less than a month, when you have to put it out twice to bid and you don't even, right, there was just no way timeline wise that it would work.
Don't, a couple more comments. So I just want to congratulate the group. I said this to Antia and Nancy before we started the meeting, but sometimes you never know how a group's going to respond. And sometimes they can come back and they give you 40 pages of work and you're like, "Oh, what do I do with this thing?" But what you guys put together is a really succinct plan that is manageable, right? For 2026, we're all lined up there. I'm hoping, Nancy, you can go for that grant for the celebration. And then 2027, everything is, at least in my opinion, it makes sense. Like it's something that keep our eyes open for and you can plan for it. So I think you've done a fantastic job, and I'm glad you guys agreed to meet periodically and just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was done in a short period of time too. So thank you for putting your time in. Yeah.
Nancy Morris, Township President. It is fantastic to see grants being sought. I don't think we've ever done it as a township until last year for MS4. I was a little worried, Donna, when you said, well, if we get $10 for MS4, that's good. MS4 is a huge, huge burden on all the taxpayers. And I think we need to my opinion is that needs to be the top priority, way above any other grants. And I don't really know why we have to pay people to get grants, but I'm willing to learn and listen. There are so many resources here. I'd rather not see us spending desperately needed dollars on consultants to write grants for us.
Can I answer real quick?
Mhm.
Just so you know, Panoni is the ones that are doing all of the MS4 engineering anyway.
Mhm.
So they already have the documents that are needed for the grants, and they have ins that we don't have for these MS4 grants. So that's why Panoni is handling some of these MS4 grants for us, but they're not exclusively writing grants for us or doing anything that nature. They
For
just-
MS4.
For MS4.
Yeah.
They're helping out with the MS4, and MS4 has been the number one priority that Nancy, Dawn, and I have worked on
Yeah,
for grants
great.
for.
What have we paid Panoni so far to write grants?
I don't know that we,
Does anyone
I don't know that
know?
we break that. I have no clue. Do we?
I think we should know those things. It's really important.
Yeah, we
it's
can look
really
into that.
important.
I don't think it's significant as far as, you know, how they handle it, because it's something that's part of their contract with us anyway, that they're going after these grants. So we can look into that though.
It's good to know because, I mean, there's been
I
so
agree.
much talk about like $2,000 to cut a trail is going to kill us. So let's find out
I
what we're
agree.
spending and show
Here.
that we have true fiscal responsibility. But thank you for doing all you're doing.
So anybody else move on? Anything else? All right. We're going to move on to the fire companies. If you can get that, the consolidation of the fire companies, and I'll explain to the residents what we're trying to talk about. Get that up? Okay, great. Great. All right. So just want to remind folks, and I think anyone who's been coming to these meetings knows this, but we have our two fire companies, and they have agreed to consolidate. And based on that consolidation, several municipalities have gotten together. We were invited into that conversation to talk about, now that we have this consolidated fire company, it's not complete, yeah, it should be done by the end of this year. Do we want to have a governance model that changes compared to what we do now? And so what I'd like to do is go through some models that have been talked about by this group of municipalities, and then present, you can just leave it there for a second, and then present maybe some other options. So as I said before, the fire companies have voted to consolidate. We met, and T and I were fortunate enough to come to this meeting on January 22nd, and just got to meet some of the other municipalities that were also part of this meeting, and hear that there is this move to, as I said, consider different models for how these consolidated fire companies would be governed. The other item that everyone should know, the budget for these fire companies is expected to increase and continue to increase. And it's part of it is because, a large part of it is because we're moving from a volunteer force to paid career staff. And it's just the reality. These guys, in my opinion, do a fantastic job. But it's very difficult to get the number of volunteers they need to keep things going. So they are moving to career staff, and that costs money. What these group of municipalities have done is they put together 4 meetings to talk about this governance model. So let me just go to the next slide, just to remind folks who's going to be part of this model. So when I say these municipalities, these are the 10 that are involved. And you see that the population, when I think of the population, I mean, when you think of the population that's being serviced by the 2 fire companies, think of that as 100%. Then this gives you an idea of what municipalities have a greater stake in this, in the sense that their population is a bigger part of that percentage that these fire companies are consolidating. And then on the side, I distinguish between whether it was the Avondale Fire Company or West Grove. So as you see, New Garden probably has the biggest percentage of that population. London Grove is next, 19%. New London's next, then Penn. Franklin, we're kind of in the middle, 10%, and we're serviced by both fire companies. London Britain, 7%, West Grove, 6%, Londonderry, Avondale. I mean, you can read as well as I can. So I just want to give you a lay of the land, and these are some of the players that are in this conversation. Okay, so we get.
Donna, did we ever find out about Elk Township?
Yeah, I think I had made a mistake. I think that Elk is
Elk is not part of it
this.
because they're serviced by Oxford.
Yeah, I think that was my mistake. All right, but this is the 10th. But that's a good question. Thank Jim. Next slide. And then just to give you an overview, these are the meetings that are scheduled by, now we're not doing it. It was done by, is it London Grove. Dave Connors, I don't know if every folks know Dave Connors. Dave Connors has kind of been the person who's taken the lead, at least to put out the slides. I don't know who else he's actually working with, but I can tell you the slides come from him. He seems to be the one who's managing the inbox in terms of who gets what. But so these are the 4 meetings that are scheduled. First one is going to be April 14th, and they call it starting the discussion. They talk about reviewing the financial cliff. And we talked about that. If folks remember last year, we were faced with a 50% increase in the EMS budget. This is a request that they made. We pushed back as a group, but that was kind of where they're heading. They're looking to get some additional money. There also this comment about current level of service. I'm not aware of any gaps. If you guys are, as we have this conversation, you can let us know. But I'm not. I think they do an excellent job. The second meeting is it's scheduled for 12. We'll get to what the actual dates are. The one we know for sure is April 14th. Then there's one in May, and this is where they actually get a deep dive into some governance choices. And then in June, the formula. Just to remind folks, there's a formula that's being used to determine how much we, Franklin Township, pay the fire companies, and that's true for each of the municipality. And the formula is it's divided to 3. One part has to do with assessed value, one part has to do with your population, and one part has to do with the number of calls that you've had the previous year. So that's our current formula, but I don't know, I get the sense that they want to look to see is that what we should be taking into the future. So that's another meeting. And then the last meeting currently on the schedule will be sometime in July. Now, just so you know this, these days, times don't always work for everybody. So we got an email, and these 4 meetings were on the email and saying, okay, these are what we're planning. And there are many folks that can't make 6 o'clock on these dates. So we will, when we get together on the 14th, we'll talk about what makes sense for those future 3 meetings. And I can report back to you guys then if what's changed. So that's our schedule and proposed objectives. All right, so the next slide. So let me just go through the governance model. So what I have in front of you is slides that I put together, and I will be the first to admit with my bias. I have my own bias. So I just want to be clear. This is slides I put together with my bias on these models. And they're based on 2 sets of slides, 2 handouts that the board has. So the board has the bias of the folks that put those slides together. And we just got to work our way through it. But I just want to make sure that I acknowledge I have a bias here. The first model that we could do is stay with what we're doing right now. And what that means is the Consolidated Fire Company remains a private, independent, nonprofit organization. We talked about the funding. We fund them. Franklin Township pays money into the fire companies. We have that agreement. It's between Franklin Township and the fire company. And you can argue whether that works or not. The folks that put these slides together were not happy with the status quo. They view the municipalities as passive funders that don't have any ability to impact what the fire companies are requesting. I commented, once again, this is my bias, I don't think that's true, and I think what happened last year is a good example of that. If we work together, we can push back, and we did. We changed the 58% increase to 10% increase, but with the understanding as, don't do this to us again. Don't come at the end of the year and say, okay, guess what, we need this. We need a more interactive conversation as the year goes on so there aren't any surprises. And then the last is, once again, my comment. I don't see that we are having a problem with service. I think the fire company is doing a good job. But I do acknowledge that they have a lot of pressure, right? They got to get their staff right. They have to get equipment could be issues, and that we just need to continue to work with them. So does anybody want to comment, or are we good? Okay. Any questions? After the board, but I will, yes. Okay, the second one, once again, these are models that are being proposed in the slide. I didn't make these models up. The second one is a commission model. And for the commission model, you still get the municipalities working together, but you are creating a shared contract. There is some legal entity. I'm not a lawyer. I'm sure as we get into this, we'll have a better sense, but there is some kind of agreement that's going to need to be formed. They call it an intergovernmental cooperation agreement that provides the oversight. And so a commission is created. Who knows what it's going to be called. In the examples that we had in the slide set, there was this regional fire and EMS commission. There was also a paid fire commissioner. There was secretary, staff, and treasurer. So there is an example. Doesn't mean that's what we'll have, but in some of the examples that we saw in the slides, there is some infrastructure that goes along with this model. The comments, once again, are my bias where I'm looking at this. And my comment is, if the objective is to have a model that provides formal oversight, which I agree with, do we need to have increased organizational hierarchy? Can we do it in a way that doesn't make things more bloated? And we could talk about that. And then I worry about IGA decision-making. And these are questions that we can ask when we go to this meeting. How's Franklin Township able to influence when we're 10% of the population? Will we be drowned out by the other 90%? Do we start losing some of our autonomy? So that's just something to think about. Any comments on this one? Okay. So let's go to the third one. Third one is probably the more radical. I don't mean radical in a nasty sense. It's different. It's very different than what we're doing now. And what this would do is we create a municipal authority, so a separate entity. It's a legal organization that may actually could even own some assets. Once again, this needs to be defined. But the thing that's different with the municipal authority is no longer are the townships or the municipalities paying money to the fire companies. This body is created, and it's this body that will send you a bill, like your electric company or like your utility, and they'll say, so and so, you owe us X amount of dollars for your fire service, and they'll manage it. They'll collect it. They'll make sure that money comes back. They'll also work to determine what that fee is, and what's being considered. Remember, everything's still kind of up there, but what's being considered is that you change from a funding model that's a third based on assessed value, a third based on the call volume from the previous year, and a third based on population. And you go from more to, well, are you a house? Are you a commercial institution? Are you a farm? Are you a hospital? Are you a church? And therefore, your service would be based not on your assessed value or it's based on what you are. So the houses would be a certain amount of money. Different entities would be different. Now, the thing I want to be very clear, currently, because our money to the fire companies are based on our real estate tax. If you don't pay real estate tax, you're not funding the fire company. So I want to be very clear about that. And that's one of the drawbacks of the current situation. If you're a hospital or a church or a school, I don't really know the tax law, but I'm assuming they don't pay taxes. But they're not paying any real estate taxes, and therefore they're not paying for fire service. And if you go to this authority model, you will have the ability to collect money from these entities because they'll be billed that way. I worry about the hierarchy, the complexity, and the additional costs. I also worry about the disconnect, because now you no longer have you're not like, you can vote us out anytime you want because you vote us in, right? And if you don't like us, you just don't vote for us anymore. The authority, that link to the authority, you don't have it anymore. It's a separate, you can't vote people out of your utility company. So that's a downside. And the amount of money, it will go up. I mean, right now, just to give you an example, we spend $374,000 based on this year's budget for our EMS budget. And that was a budget that we know they wanted a hell of a lot more money than that. And if you look at all the number of parcels that we tax with real estate, that's already about $220 per parcel per year. So it's only going to go higher. And I don't know how many people are doing their taxes, but right now, real estate tax, you can deduct over depending on how your taxes go, no, we all pay a lot of real estate tax and school tax, and also you have the ability to deduct it. You will not be able to deduct anything that goes to this authority. Can I get the next slide? And see if there's anything else I have here. This is just a little bit more, it's basically the comments that I made, that the bureaucracy, the fact that you, whatever administration that has to be done, because you would need money to put the thing together, and then, of course, whatever infrastructure needs to be to keep it together, that's all additional costs you'd have to pay for. And as I said before, the authority would directly bill the residents. So any comments on this last model? That these are the three models that are proposed. Okay. All right. So then we get number 4. Now 4 is one that I made up. So once again, not believe me, this is not rocket science. Unlike James, it's not rocket science. I hope you can read it, but I take the fact that some of the municipalities are saying, is the current model good enough? It's more like it's not a very formal structure in terms of how we hear from the fire companies in terms of what their costs are. And so what I'm suggesting, and with this board's approval, I would suggest back to the group that will meet on the 14th, is can we consider a fourth model, which I call the enhanced status quo. We can call it something else. But the acknowledgement that municipalities should work together. We should provide, at least have an opportunity as a group to meet with the fire company, so they don't have to do it 10 times, they can do it once. Have a budget presented to us, a budget very similar to what Melissa prepares for us township. We would know what the costs were the previous year, what the costs are currently undergoing, and what the costs are in the future. So you'd have an operational budget, so you'd have a sense of what's going on and what increases you could consider in the following year. You could have an interaction, so it's not just you sitting there hearing numbers, but they say, yeah, we're to hire 12 new people, and you say, well, why are you hiring 12 new people? What are they going to do? You could have that back and forth. So my proposal would be you would meet 4 times a year. You'd have an operational budget that would have that 3-year window. You'd have a capital equipment budget that would perhaps have a 5-year window, so you know what's going on in terms of equipment. And then you have those formal meetings, so that by the time you get to that fourth quarter meeting, you have a good sense of what budget requests they're going to come from the fire companies. And the whole idea is, A, it's a dialogue. B, is that it is an interaction. It's not a one-way discussion, but it's transparency and no surprises. Because I think if we as a township know what's coming down, we can work together. We prepare our budget September timeframe. If we have to increase taxes, we can be very upfront with the residents. Say, look, this fire company had increased by 20%. These are the reasons why they had to increase. This is going to mean we have to increase taxes by 3%. I'm making up numbers now, but you see, it would all come together so that we could explain to you, just like one of these meetings, what's going on. And the other side is we would still keep our autonomy. We would still have the ability. We're not going to be diluted out by the rest of the folks that are there. We will still be able to have that conversation with the fire company, say, look, this is what we're able to do, this is what we're not able to do, and why. So this was the last one. I'm just going to just turn it over to the board and just get some comments, and then we can turn it over to the public. Any?
I think you did a great job explaining them, Donna.
Okay.
I'm clear.
Do you have a preference?
Not yet. I don't know what, I don't know if I would say it yet because we haven't gone to the other meetings and seen all the proposals.
Okay.
If you want me to, you're forcing me to pick one.
No, I don't. No, I was just wondering if
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I like the hybrid models
Okay.
where we have some say.
Okay.
Because I can tell you this, I don't like the governance model.
the last one, the
The
authority.
authority.
Okay.
Three.
Okay.
Don't like that. We have no say in that. They can charge whatever they want to us as individuals, right? And there's no pushback, just pay your bill.
Right. Just like a utility.
I can say that I don't.
So I'll say I don't like number 3.
Okay. All right.
Right now.
That helps.
No, and Donna, I completely agree because last time, from what we've seen, what happened just in the last month or
Mhm.
two, that we are gonna lose any of our control over, and so I'm completely against losing our autonomy for working with them. So that's
So
my
you're,
feeling.
so right now you're a little ahead
I'm-
of the 3.
Yes.
No, it's fine. I mean, having sat in the meetings with you, I do see the benefit to the authority because they can charge churches and schools and like places that are not paying into the real estate taxes. They're not paying for fire service right now. So those would be bringing more money based on their sizes into the budget, but I don't like losing the authority, the autonomy.
Right.
So if we can come up with something where there's a way to get the schools and the churches and everything to pay into the fire company, that would be great, but I don't want to do it if we're going to lose our autonomy. I don't like the idea of it becoming a utility where we have no control over anything.
Yeah, and the other thing I don't know is this, the money that you bring in with the schools and the entity, the churches, the hospitals, is that greater than the money you're gonna have to spend to create the authority with that infrastructure and the?
So that's something we need to work on in these meetings. And I think that's something that they're still putting together information on. I know they're basing it off of an authority model that's been done in Lancaster County. But again, whatever the charges are to get this authority running and to pay the staff that are going to be running the authority, that still falls on the townships. So we have to, as a township, still budget money to pay for this authority to run.
No, I guess
We have to pay to start it up is what I was understanding. And then once it's paid to start up, then once they start billing, it gets worked into the billing. But the initial startup costs
yeah, it's
fall to the township.
the taxpayers are paying for. I mean, there's no, you're.
Regardless, we're paying
Yeah,
money.
you're gonna be paid, whether, yeah, however we do it. That's a good point.
And just one more thing too, even the utility companies have an oversight from a ratepayer advocate or, they have to pass rate base to get the rates. So I don't know what they're proposing for that. I think, it's not a private entity to just charges and you're forced to pay, right?
I know how pressed everybody is financially. And I just wonder, churches, nonprofits, schools, if it gets passed on to them to pay, are they going to have the money to pay it? And they'll probably have good arguments that they don't.
I hear you.
The schools will just transfer it back to us anyway.
It's next. If you get next slide. So this was really good feedback. So and you guys had this in your packs, so we talked about, you guys are aware of it, right? You know that this is happening. We talked a lot, we just did our pros and cons, so that's really good. We did number 3, so hey, check. And then and T and I, and you're not going to insult me, but are you okay if we represent the board at the next meetings? Is that okay? Okay, Nancy, you good? All right. So we'll come back and then just keep the dialogue going. All right? Public, please. I don't mean, tell us your name. I don't mean public, Miss Public.
Thank you. My name is Mary Cressman. I'm a Franklin Township resident. And first of all, I'd like to thank you. After the last meeting and seeing what West Grove Fire Company was requesting was a bit absurd. So I'm glad to see that there's some presentation on this and some thought behind it. I will say that I don't believe that the fire companies should be on their own as they are today. And I will give you some examples. As the last meeting, there was a proposed, I think, 75% rate increase. I've analyzed their financial statements in their 990 forms. I am a CPA. And I'd like to ask the board if any of you have looked at their financial status and where they're at, that they're sitting with $3 million in an unregulated, or it's an account that they can spend as they will. It's not dedicated to anyone. Avon Grove EMS has $500,000. We do not have those kinds of funds in our accounts. And I'd like to know, I'm hoping that as a board, you are pushing back and saying, absolutely not, we're not going to accept a rate increase when you have the funds in your account, that you have 3 firehouses that are fully paid for and do not have any debt. They have $160,000 in debt on their books. I, for one, think that we need much more regulation and would be more apt to go towards an authority. And as regarding as putting up the money to do the authority, we're going to have to put that money up anyways. We're either funding the fire company or we're funding an authority. An authority is much more regulated by the government. There are many more rules than a private fire company that is members, volunteers. They talk about having to increase paid staff. West Grove Fire Company has 77 firemen or personnel on staff as paid employees. They have attended 926 incidences with 77 employees. I think it's 40 employees at Avondale Fire Company. I think they're pretty well staffed with employees, that they're using an excuse that they're going to go from a $5 million budget to a $12 million budget because of employees. I really hope that this board takes a hard stance against a private nonprofit, because it is I know that it's a firehouse, but it is run as a private entity and it has no governance. And when they can spend $150,000 on volunteer retention, which to me says they're either paying their volunteers or they're giving them parties or whatever. We need to dig into the details of their finances and say, no, you have the funds to run your government. They've added between $300,000 and $500,000 to their savings account every year for the past 3 to 5 years. So
I thank you for your comments. When we did look at their financials, you probably know this. There's some ways you can present information to make it very difficult.
yeah,
And
I'm
so,
sure they did.
yeah, and it's very, because what I like to see is, what did you spend last year? What do you spend in this year? What do you spend in the future?
I can show it to you.
And have it all lined up so you can see what the trends are.
Mhm.
And I think we were finally
I
able
can
to.
tell you that their payroll has increased to $500,000 in the last year.
I don't doubt it. I guess
Why?
my point to you though, there are expenses. So the fact that they have a couple $1 million somewhere, I would hope it would be dedicated to equipment or something. So
They
I'm
don't
not
show
surprised.
any
Yeah.
dedication
Yeah,
for it.
I would expect to be, I'm not surprised that they would have some money because they have to plan for the
That's
future.
more than a year's budget. They have a $3 million budget and they have 3.2 in their accounts.
Something's not, so we need to get a stricter
Right.
sense of that.
And-
But I do worry about an authority, because I get the sense, I could be totally wrong, that the fire companies want the authority, because I think they feel that they'll get the money they want from the authority as opposed
See,
to.
I would argue that they don't, because they are going to lose their autonomy.
We'll see,
So
but
I-
we'll see. We'll watch. It's something to watch.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
I have a question too, that I had thought that the authority would have people in the fire department in it. I thought that's what was presented now.
So
It would be a governmental regulation, just like the PUC or something like that.
If that's the case, I may change my mind,
The authority would have a board of directors, according to this, with 10 and those 10 members would have 2-year terms. So,
And they would be independent from the fire departments, all?
yes,
Okay.
so ideally,
Define independent, right?
ideally, it's one person from each township, because there's 10 municipalities and it'd be a board of directors of 10 people. So ideally, it would be one person from each township who's elected to this board of directors that would oversee the authority, and they would have 2-year terms. How those terms and how they get voted in and out, they didn't go into that detail yet. So
But that would be the appropriate way, that
Correct.
it's a representative of each.
Correct. But
Res-
again, they're still going through, I mean, we're just bringing you back the information that we've been given. So it's all still unfolding as the 10 municipalities sit down and meet, and we've only had one meeting so far. So
Say, as a township representing. As a township representing your constituents, you need to push for that, that it would be a board of one person from every district.
Would you keep it the way it is now? Like, why would you not have a situation where we Franklin Township, we need what you said. We need to be able to see that financials. We need to be able to meet with them, I think, like I said, 4 times a year, but with a real budget, not this stuff where it's all flying all over the place. They can't have hidden funds somewhere. And then we can say you want 50, and it was 58% that they asked us for. No, you want 50, no, you're not getting 58%. We'll give you 10.
So without having that authority and regulation, who's setting where they're spending their money? I understand they have a budget, but they're setting that budget. You have no control over that. With an authority, you would have say and control over the budget. A fire company can come in and say, okay, you want a budget? Fine, this is our budget. We're paying our fire chief $200,000 because we think he deserves it. You're not going to have control over that.
No, I think you have a dial. Once again, we don't have it figured out. We still got a long way to go. But yeah, right. But I would hope that we'll have those conversations, but maybe it's just me. I like to be hands in there. Like, I would want to be the one to say, no, you're not, we're not paying for it. Now, the authority, you'd have to trust the authority. I don't trust government, even though I'm part of it. I don't trust government. They seem to get
You
people.
wouldn't trust yourself sitting on a board with 10 other people from 10 other townships that are looking at their constituents?
No, not necessarily. I just don't trust an authority.
Maybe you shouldn't be.
No, I just, because I see how people can, like, they just kind of look, because it's not, you know what I worry about? And I promise I'll stop after this. It's not coming out of it's not coming out of real estate tax anymore. So I don't really I don't have to raise tax. Like, I worry as we raise taxes, I think we all do, take it personally, that we have to ask the township residents. And I worry that once we say the EMS service budget is no longer coming out of real estate tax, it's coming from somewhere else, that we kind of lose that passion to say we got to protect our residents.
And I don't want to keep going on because I don't want to take up the time, but what I'm telling you is you don't have control over what's coming out of the real estate taxes when West Grove comes in and says, you're going to pay $500,000 a year.
That's not true. We told them, no, we're not doing it.
For how long can you tell them no?
I mean, that's what you look at. All right, we're all agreeing this is a good thing. Keep talking, right?
Yes.
Somewhere for the authority, so.
To be clear, I think what Donna is saying is she trusts the people that would be on that board, but not the authority that's reporting to that board. Right? That's what you're saying.
So Nancy, let me turn it over to you. We're going to talk about Celebration 250. Nancy?
Donna, John Auerbach. I
Oh.
got one public comment, a quick one. Related to
Fire
the,
company, John, right? Just for the fire company?
yeah, related to the authority. I think the one thing you have to be aware of is that you're creating another level of administration, which you will pay for, that you don't have right now. The fire company is still going to have their administrative costs. They're not going to change. So you're adding another layer of administrative costs. I'm not sure the taxpayers have any real direct control over this authority, contrary to what I just heard. I think you're better off trying to negotiate directly with the fire companies every year. I think you can push back one. We have done that in the past. You did that last year. I think you want to be very careful with the authority and losing the control the township has. And just related to a comment where the schools would now have to pay for fire service. They would only just pass it on in a real estate tax. You wouldn't really charge them. They just pass it right on. That's all I had.
Yeah, thanks, John. Nancy, so what's our,
Hopefully no budget.
no,
That's what we aim for. Paul and I have worked hard on this, and we were sort of the event planning committee. that the board commissioned to do a look at what we might be able to do in the way of a community celebration honoring America's 250th anniversary as our country, and to have it be fun, low to no cost, and community centered. So that's what we aim to do. Jeff, can you show the thing up there? I think it'd be easier to follow. You've seen this. There are a couple of things that I'll make comment on. We did discuss moving the time back some to like 11 o'clock start instead of 10, so people would have more time to set up. So that's sort of a minor thing to me. We would need traffic management, so we would coordinate with Jeff and FSA on that. We would need a stage with the microphone, so hopefully Jeff can help us land a long bed truck, something we've used in the past that would be suitable. I spoke with Matt Thompson about the possibility of having an early morning event on that same day, a run or a walk that they would run, and that's kind of, I'm leaving it up to them if they want to do it. I think we'd be okay with it. It would bring in a different kind of participant than ones that might attend later, you know, parents who wanted to do a run and go back and get their kids and bring them for the later part of the celebration. We'd have it all at Crossan Park. There would be a plant swap, maybe herbs information booth, to which we will look for the experts. We have Donna and Tia. There's a master of ceremonies that we've used in the past, and I think we'll try to ask for him to participate because we've heard only good things about that. Have some patriotic music, maybe one of the high school bands. On these, I haven't been able to go forward because we don't have a go-ahead.
Right.
So I've been, you know, we've held off contacting people. We proposed a children's tattoo table with patriotic tattoos in one of the pavilions set up by Girl Scouts or other volunteers. That would be a fun thing, and a place nearby that we'd use to help them decorate the bicycles or the wagons if there are parents pulling infants, whatever, to get them ready for the parade that would feature those bikes with, you know, flags and things like that, red, white, and blue decorations. We'd have a photo booth, well, a photo place available so that families and their kids can take pictures of themselves with, we hope to have a Ben Franklin impersonator or two, and with their families and their wagons and their bikes. We talked about a keepsake that we would give out that would be a very low cost thing, like if we use the commemorative dime and put it on a little cardstock that has the Franklin Township logo on it and put it in a little mesh bag, but that would make a nice remembrance for folks who attend the event. Cheapo. The Ben Franklin impersonators, we have lines on several. Some cost an awful lot. There are some that have worked in East and West Goshen Township to there. They're different types of, we'll call them impersonators. One would do a table or a booth with scientific experiments that children and families could watch, since Ben Franklin was very much into that. And the other is more history oriented and with a complete outfit. And we'd hope to use him in the photos for children and families to be a key participant in the Dare to Declare. Paul, would you like to talk about the Dare to Declare part? Because there are parts that Paul's going to shine in and parts I'll hope to make happen.
Okay, so we've been exploring a couple options. Basically, one thought had been that Dare to Declare could be a community spectrum sort of thing, but then the degree that would be required to organize that and pull everybody together for rehearsals really led us to thinking more of a local high school sort of drama club kind of situation, where we could work with a teacher to help us organize the event, and they could set up their rehearsals in advance so that they would be ready and we wouldn't have to manage all of that.
Maybe I don't know what it,
Oh,
what it-
Dare to
gonna
Declare,
read.
sorry. And Dare to Declare is public reading of the Declaration of Independence. It's
Sort of a centerpiece.
sort of, it's a centerpiece of the celebrations, especially something that Chester County's been emphasizing. And generally it's set up so that you would have a group, say 10, 12 people who would be reading sections of the Declaration and as individuals, and then they would be reading certain other sections as a group. So that it's a performance of the Declaration in a way, which is why drama clubs are natural, because we would be dealing with people first who are eager to be in front of people and have experience being in front of people.
Also, if we have any honored guests, I don't know if people would use a Ben Franklin.
Yeah, we
this,
really could,
but if
well, we could
Senator
certainly
Payne
use Ben Franklin to introduce it or start it and then turn it over to our student volunteers. Anyway, that's the thought. There's not been, a lot of this is, for lack of a better word, somewhat speculative at the moment because we really need to go ahead in order to try and put something more solid on this. And then here it talks about, having basically the opportunity for the attendees to personally sign what would be a blank copy of the Declaration of Independence.
just without the signatures.
So, or perhaps just have John Hancock's signature, and then people could come up and sign it. And we've talked about doing it either as a large single format. The other possibility is doing it simply on a piece of paper that we could print out here, so that multiple people could sign a copy, not the same copy of the Declaration of Independence, so that you wouldn't have to have a long line of people waiting to sign the Declaration, so that would speed it up. But it's a participatory event on parallel with the reading. And so that would start essentially right after the reading, and then people could come along during the day and continue to sign it. And so another possibility would be the Ben Franklin lookalike contest. I'm not sure how, we've been discussing this in the historical commission. I'm not sure how many daring individuals we're actually going to get. This would be open to adults and children. And this would also be an opportunity to have it judged by Ben Franklin. So, which might be a fun little touch. So, this is, some of the things that, as we're going down this sheet, are associated with me. So I'll turn it back over to Nancy.
Or do you want to talk about, we had thought, and I did ask Jim, there's been the
the
plan to
memorial.
have
Yeah.
a memorial dedicated to veterans from our township who have served in the wars.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was going to be a separate thing, but we
It
thought
doesn't have to be a separate thing.
if we're going to have a big event,
Yeah.
it would be good to include it.
It would be, if we can get it all together, nearly together, it'd be an ideal time to dedicate it.
It will be ready if you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I can just step aside just a little bit from what Nancy and I are talking about, the Historical Commission is currently working on compiling a list of veterans that could be posted or associated with the township that could be posted online, so that could be also unveiled in conjunction with this. And basically that would be, we're limited initially to what we know. And so we would invite people to inform us of people who are not on the list, and then we would add people to the list and have a growing list over time. So it would be a more personalized memorial online that would work in conjunction with the general memorial in
And the
the,
initial announcement. right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah. So I'm working with a couple other people and just starting to try and pull that stuff together, get information and but that's going along with it.
And Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about your progress on these big boulders that you've managed to have donated?
I can if you like. Jim Johnson had the idea of a memorial to honor veterans. And Melissa also had a good idea for another boulder for people to be able to buy little brass plaques in memory of someone if they wish. So I had contacted a local quarry owner and told him about the projects, and he was more than willing to donate those boulders and have them delivered, so they were no cost to the township.
Just to add to that too, I'm in the process of getting quotes for bronze plaques. And I have two quotes. The third one should be coming in a day or two. And my company is probably going to put in the money for those. So my company's going to put up the money for the bronze plaques. And they're more expensive than I thought. Oh my God.
That's terrific, Jim. Thank you. There may or may not be, depending on whether the fellow's done it in the past years, a hayride that would follow the past year's path for folks to go on if they like. That's still in the iffy stage. The fire muster, which along with the Dare to Declare would be the feature parts of the celebration. I'm very happy to say both fire companies are fully on board and very much looking forward to it. So I was really pleased about that. Those we did go ahead and contact because it's such an important part. We wanted to be sure that they're willing. There's a mention of a time capsule and a tree planting. It's a possibility.
Yeah, let me just inject there. These are ideas. Some of these things may fall by the wayside. And the other thing that we have to do that we haven't done yet is we have to essentially make an event timeline so that we can make sure that all these things will flow in a smooth enough fashion so that we don't have, 14 events scheduled for one time slot kind of thing. And that the things that are ongoing can manage themselves.
Right, and we've taken a shot at that on the right column going through this. We'd look to a sponsor, I think, to have water on hand and be able to hand that out, maybe volunteers to help. The children's prize wheel is a neat idea, I think, and the Sadler, he has one. So we're in discussions with them about whether they'd be willing to let us use it. So I'm kind of waiting to hear back on that and perhaps have Boy Scouts manage the handout of prizes. Somebody who will enjoy doing it. Face painting, Miss Stella has said she's available. Just let her know when to show up. There would be arts and crafts vendors. Paul, do you want to talk about the historic interest booths?
Yeah, so historic interest, well, Franklin Township Historical Commission has had a booth at these events traditionally. And there are other people such as Dave Porter and Scott Skeel who each run their own local museums. Scott's up in West Grove and Dave has Chester County Oriented Museum. He's physically though in Elkton. Sarah Beth Kohat and Tim Barnikoff are both authors on local subjects of interest. Sarah Beth Kohat, who's on our historical commission, has written on covered bridges. Tim Barnikoff is about to have a book come out on the history of the White Clay Creek Preserve that goes back to pre-colonial times and discusses certain aspects of the preserve. I happen to know a lot about the book because I helped him edit it.
He was a
And then there's there are the various watershed associations and the Friends of the White Clay Creek Preserve and the Franklin Sportsmen's Association and other local groups like that who could have basically informational tables of one sort or another. And one of the things kind of want to do is come through the folks who are also at the 300th celebration for London Britain to see who showed up there, because they had some nice folks there. And, you know, sometimes there are freebies, if nothing else, that people are happy to take home, but it's also a way for these organizations to interface with the people who are attending, especially when they're looking for volunteers. Tri-State Bird Rescue, for example, is another possibility. Though they're having their own event the next weekend, so I'm not sure how free they will actually be to host a table. They may be a little overwhelmed with their own planning.
And for those booths, we would not charge folks to participate. For the vendors in the arts and the crafts, we figured $25 a booth. So 20 booths would yield $500 that would just go into supporting the event. Let's see, other nonprofit booths that we've had in the past, you know, for fall festival kinds of things, we'll contact them and see if they would like to come. No charge for those. Antique car.
Yeah, so you may or may not know Lou Mandich, but he's a member of our historical commission. He was at London Britain with the Lawrences with various antique cars. Lou runs a antique car repair facility known as the Last Chance Garage. This is his post-retirement business. It's on Cemetery Lane. But
Cries out for a comic.
yeah, no, I mean, it's almost too good to be true. And then I know Bob Magnus was looking at something larger and different as a kind of car event, but there may be some, say, more modern cars that we could add so that we could have maybe 10 cars or something like that.
The postal truck.
Yeah, that's John Lawrence's truck. Yeah, we're hoping to encourage him to come out as well, and that's a very fun thing. I saw that at London Britain, and I think that's over to you, Nancy.
So I've talked to Bob at the Easter egg hunt, and he is going to ask his band if they'd be willing to go for, you know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in the afternoon with breaks. So that would provide music and just fun stuff. I'll do the patriotic music in the earlier part of the event. So there are a number of folks I've talked with, like Colonial Pipeline, that are expecting a request from us, you know, to be a sponsor. So this would all be on September 12th at Crossan Park. So my questions for the board are, our questions for the board are, since there's no cost, could the board give us approval to start being actively soliciting people to be part of this, or should we wait until the 15th? I don't know if there's some rule that you had to do it twice.
So
Please guide
I
me.
think, well, I don't know the answer. Maybe guys here, I mean, I think you guys have done a great amount of work. It seems like you have a lot of ideas that you could pull together, and I worry about times ticking by.
I know.
So I don't know if we need a formal, Guy, help us, do we need a formal resolution? Can we give a head nod now and come back on the 14th and give them a formal resolution, or can we just say go?
I'd say, my advice is just say go.
You guys okay?
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a couple comments though. I mean.
May Jim, before you go, can I just make one point while I've broken in? I don't know if this, Don, I don't know if this is on your list of things to do, but at some point we'll want to announce the executive session that we had on Friday so that we're compliant.
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jim.
No problem. I just wanted to mention, this is a great list of things to do, right?
We'll
It's
get
already,
all done.
it's already April, right? And there's a lot of coordination, and so, I mean, you're gonna need help to get it.
Absolutely.
And obviously, all these things won't be there. Some of them will not be.
Sure.
So.
And we understand
Yeah,
that.
and then I thought, you know, during this meeting, you know, I heard you mention time capsule before and then today, but if you're gonna sign that Declaration of Independence, that would be something great to put in the ground and dig up in
It's gonna be
25 years.
big.
So
Yeah.
The question I have
You can
about.
put it in a PVC tube.
Yeah, yeah. So the question I have about a time capsule is, it's something that we're gonna dig a hole for and bury it up on township property. So I want the township to be okay with us doing that.
Right.
But it's a straightforward thing otherwise. But it's a little bit of a commitment and then we need to figure out, when we open it too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And what goes in it?
Right.
What's gonna do?
Yeah.
it?
But yes, you're right about the declaration. It would be a great thing to fold up and.
Especially if a bunch of kids are here and they sign it from the township and
It
then
would be fun.
when they're adults, they dig it up and they said they
Yeah.
signed, show their
Photos of
kids
it.
they signed it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, lastly, is the PA 250.
Mhm.
A lot of their stuff, believe it or not, after 4th of July, they're done.
They decommission.
Yeah. So they might have some stuff left over for
Get in
you.
touch with their
Okay.
office. So we'll see what they have, not the big fun
Yeah,
Truck is.
trolley thing, no.
there actually is one other thing that I can just update you on. While I was vacationing, I was back and forthing with the Chester County Archives. And unfortunately, their presentations, which are very nice, are designed to be set up inside. So that would not be an option for us. It would be available, but we're not going to be inside.
So Nancy, I don't want you to have a heart attack on when I say what I'm going to say, but I know you talk about this being a no cost thing. I don't know if that's realistic, but I would just say, create a budget,
Mhm.
bring it to us.
Right.
It's not going to be
We don't wanna
thousands,
go
but
further
but
until
let's
we
figure out, and then
Heard from the board.
we'll find some money. This is good stuff. Just like the Easter egg hunt was such a great
Mhm.
community events when we've done the fall festivals. I know this isn't a fall festival, but it's getting our people together.
Right.
It's seeing the smiles and the kids come out and they enjoy the park.
Mhm.
So don't be afraid if there's some money, we'll figure it out.
All
We'll
right.
figure it out.
Thank you, and I'll keep you posted on whether.
Well,
Here
and
today.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to say that I have a meeting with David Payne at the library on this Wednesday. So I'll just check the date with him, see if
Sure.
he can, because he's done a booth before.
Oh.
And if it's a free booth, I'm sure he'd be interested if they have the date available. So he's short on staff right now, but
Yeah, so that's the big thing, getting the state.
it's
getting the
gonna
date out,
be,
right?
I talked to Nancy about this before. It's gonna be really tight trying to get crafters and trying to get people. Because everybody's promised for the fall already, but we'll see what we can do.
So anything else, Nancy? You
So
good?
that's it.
Wow, you guys are great. And Paul, thank you. I know you
Thank you,
two are the
Paul.
dynamic duo here making this happen. So it's all good. It is impressive how it's come together. I mean, I love the idea of the Memorial Rock or the boulder, whatever you call it. I love that. I just
That's
I love
big.
the dare to declare.
Yeah.
Sorry, the dare. I think that's such a great, we have such a
It's a
great
wonderful thing.
country to be able to, it's not a long document if we all get through the Declaration of Independence. It's all.
And the boulders are over there, by the way, but they're not in the place they're gonna be.
You're not painting them though, are you?
No, they're not painted.
Oh, my God.
Excellent.
And Guy's thing about.
The executive. Yeah, I just have to acknowledge that. And I think it's what you want, guys. So we finished the agenda for our meeting. I want to acknowledge that on Friday. Do you guys know what the date was? Or was it the second, third?
Second.
Third. So April 3rd, we had an executive session with Guy to talk about the conduct of our township meetings. Wanted to make sure that we were doing the comment section done, that we do it properly. Anything else that you want to bring up? Is that good? And the other thing I messed up, I'm sorry, guys, is I didn't do the public comments at the beginning of the meeting, but we were able to get the public comments in as we went through the agenda items.
See if there's any.
Right, but now let's do the public. So remember in the beginning, the public comments are for things on the agenda. Now we're going to be doing public comments for items that are not on the agenda. So let me just read the little blurb here. So this public comment can include comments on anything attendees might want to share. Commenters must state their name and whether they are a township resident or a taxpayer of the township. So let me open it to the public.
Yeah, this is John Auerbach. I'm a Franklin Township resident. I want to refer to some discussion that Antia got into early in the meeting related to the Walker Road Bridge. And we looked at replacing that thing a couple of times, but the Hess Mill Bridge, which was in worse condition, came first. But But I think there's an opportunity for a grant to provide some of that funding for that bridge if you want to look into it. And here's why, because when we looked at the Hess Mill Road Bridge, which is a big wooden bridge, a much larger structure, Jeff Eastburn got the Conservation District to come down and look at our project. And both he and I met the Conservation District down at the bridge, and they looked at the project. They even walked up and down the thing in the water in the middle of February. It was pretty cold. But after about an hour looking at it, they came back and said the bridge was flow restricted at 25 feet. And if you would increase it to 32 feet, you would get a grant for improving the flow. I think certainly the Walker Road Bridge is flow restricted also. So it's possible that you could get some grant money out of the Conservation District. And I think the first thing you ought to do is get them down there to look at it and see whether that's possible before you do any engineering work or any study work. They'll look at it and see. Just to put the grant in perspective, the Hess Mill Bridge cost us $450,000, and we got a $237,000 grant from the Conservation District. We actually could have got another $100,000 out of it, but the grant came to us in the middle of the COVID thing, and there was some doubt that if we waited for the other $100,000, we might not get any of it. So the board voted to take the $237,000 and run. But the important thing was that the grant was significant. So it might be worth talking to the Conservation District about that. Just one other comment about Pannoni's work on the grant work. It's possible that the input that you need for that kind of grant may be technical, related to civil engineering characteristics, and Pannoni be the only one to be able to do that. I'm not sure anybody in a township could do that if you needed that kind of input. So that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, John. I'd like to give you, yeah, please don't talk for 20. If you could get it done in a few minutes, I think that's fine. I don't know how many comments we have, but
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to present you guys with an environmental impact report for farming Franklin Preserve. As you know, because you brought it up, you guys are doing the MS4 remediation on a stream that is on that property. If you just go to the back, you guys can read the executive summary and all that later. The maps themselves, the thing missing from the ENS report is this stream. There is no mention of this stream. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Figure 1. Go to figure 1. It's the first map, it's fine. Okay. Figure 1 is the site location map. Figure 2, that's the easiest way to see it. Yeah. Okay. So that stream is not considered in the Agri-ENS report that was given to me by a right to know. So I did a report being, what is the impact on this stream? Because it's a headwater stream to a impaired stream in a high quality watershed. So you can see that it is actually already considered a preserved area, like you know. DVRPC has it listed as protected land. Let's jump to figure 9. Okay, this is basically just a big picture of the watershed. And you can see the property that is highlighted. The red stream is impaired. It has high nitrate levels. It has high sedimentation. So you're taking a land that does not need to be cultivated, creating more sediment, more erosion, going into a headwater stream. So I just wanted to give you guys this and say, this is what you're looking at. This is going to affect the environment. You can't say it's not going to. So for your information, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We appreciate that. Appreciate the work that you did.
It's been incredibly concerning to see where this has gone. I know it's still an idea. I have a feeling the township has already spent more money on it than we're hoping to save, but I hope I'm wrong. I know we've spent legal fees. Well, how is the contract going to be created? You've asked Guy to work on it. We pay by the hour,
He gave us time.
okay? And every hour we spend
Yeah,
with Guy.
let me address that
How
because
about if I keep going, Guy, and then you can come back to
oh
it,
no, I
okay?
just want to let you know that I've committed, I'm sorry, I interrupted. That was rude. You please proceed. I'll speak
was.
when I'm asked.
Thank you, thank you. Regardless, um, apparently trees have been cut. Maybe that work has been given to us for free. I'm not sure why. But what I'm really worried about is how we are taking something that belongs to the community and I guess deciding that one member, not of this community, but of another community, deserves to make about $10,000 a year on it in farming sorghum. Very lucrative. It's the community's land. It will have a deleterious effect on the environment. That's inarguable. He has already sprayed something without our approval. I'd like to know what that was. Anybody know?
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen. So nitrates have gone on the land. Nitrates cause cancer. That's a proven fact. No one put any notice up. There are people allergic to nitrates. So in attempting to perhaps solve one problem, we've created another. It rained on Sunday. Those nitrates are going right down into the water stream. So so I keep hearing you say something in the background. So, we need to look big picture. And we also need to look at really what we're doing is creating a feedlot for deer. Deer love sorghum. Hunters love deer. I think on the surface, it seems like a really good idea to create this feedlot. Unfortunately, our deer are overrun with ticks, and ticks are spreading all kinds of disease, Lyme disease, and also the Texas Lone Star disease, which I know two farmers who have that disease, and their lives have been destroyed. And I sent an article out to members of the board explaining that it is devastating and it is exploding. So in my view, the last thing we need for children, pets, people to be traipsing through these fields, if we can have trails still, picking up nitrates, spreading them in our carpets, our cars, our beds, wherever our kids and pets go. Adding nitrates to the environment, adding the risk to our community of disease, devastating illnesses and disease, and teaching our kids that you don't have to own land to make money off it. You just need to know the right people, and you'll make a very nice profit on that land. I don't care how nice the farmer is. I've had cancer. His wife died of cancer. Farmers are experiencing huge rates of cancer. I can tell you because I went to Union Hospital in Elkton, and you know who I got my infusions with? Farmers. Farmers who have blood diseases from Roundup and from from nitrates and from other things in the ground. So I really want to ask everyone when we have our 250th celebration and we enjoy that park, that we don't have to worry about our kids getting Lyme disease, and that we don't have to worry about the deer in our roads causing accidents, destroying people's gardens, that we really think about what it means to be a community and what it means to share equally of the riches that our forefathers really and foremothers created. The creation of national parks happened in the United States. And most of us have grandparents who were around to see that incredible Amazing achievement. Nowhere else in the world. We were first in the world. And now we're looking at selling off our parks. Everything's for sale. So maybe Franklin Preserve is for sale, although we're not actually making any money off it. And every penny we spend, Don, I heard you say we've got money maybe for the celebration, but we don't have money to cut the trail. That trail's $2,000 a year. We need to, hold on. I am really hoping and praying that there is a huge list of ideas about how to get our budget down to a manageable number. That can be one item, but it is a tiny item in a $3 million budget. It is a tiny item when we are spending $60,000 a year to mow Crossan Park, $70,000 a year on maintenance, $20,000 a year in the park budget for some sort of park employee. Who is that employee? Who is it? Does anybody know? Okay, I'm done. I would love to have that question answered. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I need to know where every penny is going in this township, and I will follow it. And I want to make sure that we are really honoring everyone in this community, not some hunters, not a farmer, everyone. Thanks for being public citizens. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other public comments? Here, okay.
Mary Pressman with Franklin again. And I sort of want to follow up on the whole Franklin Preserve. I attended the last meeting and the comment was that the lease was a $0 lease that was being given to Kenny Roberts so that we didn't have to worry about mowing. Yet we spent $3,000 mowing Franklin Preserve last year. And so I guess by planting sorghum, we're not going to have to spend that $3,000. But there was tree removal. He did spray without having a signed lease. So he illegally went on property and sprayed it. I want to know what the fine is for doing that. I mean, there's some problems there. There's a concern about the whole MS4 impact. Nitrates seep into the ground. Through knowledge of environmental issues, having a meadow is one of the best barriers to filter out nitrates. Having a sorghum field that is being tilled is the worst situation you can have to filter out nitrates. And he will be spraying that field every season. And he will be plowing and tilling and taking the topsoil off, eroding that field.
I want you to be able to do.
Okay.
You guys do not understand the program, but I don't want to interrupt you.
So, okay, let's talk about the program. At last meeting, the comment was made that it was going to be an educational program. Well, if you talk to the future farmers of America, they really don't even want to know about sorghum. It's not what they're interested in growing. If you talk about educational programs, the best educational programs for our children is habitat, bird life, insect life, stream life. What kind of microorganisms are living in that stream? What is left in that meadow to be picked at, the bugs and insects for the birds to survive or the bees to survive. The best educational program would to be done, what Nickel Park has is a meadow, a wildflower meadow, that might have some beehives in there and have a beekeeper. And there are a ton of people around here that would be thrilled to have an open meadow to put beehives on, free of charge, and farm bees hives there and give educational talks. So if you're talking about an educational program, sorghum is not the high intellect educational program we're looking for. Certainly not for our children. I want to know, if you're doing an educational program, who is it benefiting? What schools are participating in it? What children are participating in it? Is the library bringing groups out to look at there and talk about stories that they're reading? I sort of doubt it. What are you using as a matrix, a metrics to determine its success? Is there a success for growing sorghum? There is profit on a $0 lease for the farmer. And that's the only success that I see in this. It is disheartening that government representatives of our public lands would give away that land for free. I'd like to rent that land for free. I'd love to start a vineyard on that land for free. Can we talk about that? And I'm sure there are a ton of other farmers in this community that would say the same thing. And yet you're giving a $0 lease to a farmer who doesn't even live in our community, does not pay tax dollars in our community. So in the end, I would like to know what kind of budget is being spent on this whole program. Because if we're only saving $3,000 for mowing, I can tell you we could get pro volunteers that would mow that lawn. I know, what's funny? I know a lot of pro volunteers that would help. So I am done, but I just want the entire board to know that I really think you need to think about what this is doing to the community, because it's not the right thing to do for the community. Thank you.
And that's your opinion. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Brian Hanley, I'm a township resident. First off, I want to talk about the taxes that are going up. Donna, you said you were talking about the MS4 last time. You said you really didn't like it. You weren't a fan of the MS4. Well, that sounds like a load of crap. That doesn't sound like a good way to not spend money. And
So I don't.
you said, I don't really like the MS4.
The reason why is because we're forced to do projects that don't necessarily have the impact that we need to have.
Well, if you pick the wrong projects, then yeah, but you
So you-
should be doing that.
So you do, and it's the other thing, it's an unfunded mandate. It's millions of dollars that we don't
Right.
have. So it's
That we
very
don't
frustrating.
We don't have, but we had before and it went away. They had
No,
money.
we never had I mean, it's an unfunded mandate that we're for.
Right, so.
Just one other thing, because you
Please.
made the comment.
Please, go
about
ahead.
that we have a lot of stormwater work that we need to do that would
Yeah.
be good for us to do. And unfortunately, because of the way MS4 is written, the project that we should be putting our time on to fix things, we get no credit for.
Right.
Right,
Okay,
so
okay,
that's
how
where
long-
that's where the frustration is. I agree
Gotcha.
with stormwater management. I agree it's an important thing to do. I wish we had a little more leeway to be able to defend projects that we as a township believe would actually produce a benefit to the township.
Okay, so how long did you know about the MS4?
We've been dealing with it for years.
Oh, okay, so
This is our.
you've just been battling with it?
So you had to get a permit together, and then you had to go through, for almost 5 years, we were negotiating with DEP on our first permit. So it's been 5 years of back and forth with them. And I think, have you ever worked with DEP? Yeah, I think you do, right? So it's you submit information to them, maybe a year later, you'll come back with something. So it was back and forth. We finally got our first permit in January 2025.
Okay, so there was no concept of maybe we should be putting money aside throughout the 5 years?
We have been putting money aside, but we're talking, this is $1 million plus. Our budget isn't that big. So we try to put $200,000 away a year for it. But there is other work there are other stormwater projects that need to be done. And so you have to prioritize based on what's out there. We also, as we talked before, about
All right,
emergency
this is my
services.
comment, though.
Oh, so you asked the question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So move on with your comment. I'll stop.
All right, well, so that whole aspect of we're not putting it in the right place, fine. But the MS4 is yeah, thank you. So the MS4 is been around and we should have been thinking about it longer. You lowered taxes over the course of 10 years but now we need money. So why wasn't that considered due to the fact that the MS4 has always been around and could have been budgeted? There could have been elements of it budgeted for 10 years or 20 years because that has always been around. So that's one element of it. The other element is, why are we doing these stupid projects that mean nothing and are basically, why aren't we cutting the fat? Like When Jeff, who makes approximately $60 an hour, if you convert his salary, it's a little bit more than that, comes up with these cockamamie schemes for farming. It doesn't mean anything. You're putting money, he's taking his money or he's taking his salary and he's taking that time. He's wasting everything for the one farmer. And we're going to have to deal with the lawyer to review the contracts. If we,
Excuse me?
I,
Yeah, can we not get personal? I mean,
well, no, okay, good.
speak to someone because she's an expert.
Please, Dawn. Please, Dawn, please. I'd like to retract my comment to you, Dawn. Please, go ahead.
This isn't a debate.
Yeah,
There's a comment section. You're not debating.
You're cutting me off. You all keep talking.
making some personal comments about people's salary and and it's very,
That's public.
yeah, so just, please, just make your comment and just do your best not to be personal.
I'll take a step back. I apologize. I'm going to go ahead. And the fact that the taxes are going up, the fact that you don't like the MS4, the fact that we seem to be paying money for things that I don't think we should be doing at all. Why aren't we looking at those things? Why aren't we looking at cutting the fat for these projects that don't need to happen at all? The township for the 250 celebration, that's fine. That's good. The fact that you're dealing with the fire department, that's also reasonable and needs to be done. Some of this other stuff doesn't make any sense. I mean, you can't just, there's certain things that you just can't deal with and you don't have to deal with. And I don't understand why we're doing this crap.
You are referencing things that you feel should be cut. Do you mind? I'm sorry.
The farming, I think the farming
Okay,
should go
so
away.
is there anything else? I mean, I'll be happy if you, no, I would be really helpful if you would just send an email or just.
I can do that.
Just say, these are things that based on my knowledge of what's going on that I
Yes.
think,
I
I
love it.
appreciate that. Thank you.
About all the expenses.
So what, you'll see this in the newsletter that's coming out for the spring. No, it's electronic, won't cost us anything. We had to get rid of it because we couldn't afford it. So it is being done electronically. But we are going to have because of the tax increase, the belief that we'll have to increase taxes because of MS4 and for the emergency service. Very similar to what you're saying, Nancy, that suggested that we take one of our board meetings, take a piece of one of the meetings and just talk to township representatives and get their feedback on what they think about the tax increase, what they think about things that they believe that we shouldn't be spending money on, maybe things that we should. So I would like to do that in the as we get more information from the fire companies, but maybe in the end of the summer, beginning of fall, get the group together.
Fine, cool. Thanks.
So there's someone that we have opens a can, closes it up. We have also the bathrooms that have to be cleaned. Well, yeah, it's good. Melissa, no, it's not Jeff. Leave Jeff out of this. Well, because he's working, but there are other stuff, but it's not, I just want to know who it is.
So there's actually 3 park employees. There's Steve Hollis. There's Kate Baca, she's very seasonal, only when the restrooms are open. She'll do the water fountains. She'll open and close or open the park on days to give Steve a break and some holidays. And then John Hawking mows Goodwin Preserve, and he's very much seasonal. And trash and dog bags and dog poop. Yeah. So it's split up among 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the employees or anything. I know Jeff is operational, and I'm not trying to pick on you or anything like that, but I would like to know what is involved in operational. Are there employees besides the 3 part-time parks opening up that do maintenance and repair? Do we have any full-time employees? Is that under Jeff Does he do any of that? Because in looking at the budget, we're spending $500 to $600,000 a year on one vendor that's going out inspecting roads to see for debris, cutting down trees, stormwater management, inlet clean out, $530,000. Yeah, but in a lot of, yeah, it is part of that. And I understand this year we had more snow than we should have. But we are paying a contractor.
Mhm.
I'm sure contractor rates for $550,000, you could have 2 or 3 full-time employees and a truck to cut trees and saws, chains. Yeah, right. You could have an awful lot of on staff. And if you look at London, Britain, I think London Grove, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, Dawn. I don't understand why every time someone talks, you sort of chuckle or
All right.
give a
All right,
side
Renata,
comment.
just please make your
I'm sorry. I would like, that's what I'm asking. I would like to know why we're spending $550,000 a year when there is a business model that a hired employee with a lawnmower and a truck could take care of an awful lot of that work.
So we have looked at this and we can bring it up at that meeting that we have in the fall, but believe me, we have looked at this. And we can justify what we're doing, but
You've done analysis on payroll and all of that.
what do you hire somebody full-time and have the equipment, what those costs look like compared to what we're doing now, yes.
Okay, because I have run a business and I understand all of those costs. And over $500,000 is quite a lot to spend on a small township like this.
I just want to come back up real quick because you keep saying that we don't know. I got a right to know of the Ag ENS report. It is here in front of you. I gave it to you. So I do know.
Sorry, what do you know? What?
This is just some of the project.
And while you were drinking your wine, from hospital rooms, from infusion clinics, because it was so important to me to represent the community. You come in, you do butterfly parties and
Get personal,
you don't have
Nancy,
these, I managed $100 million
Nancy, don't-
budgets. AstraZeneca, global company. You sell antiques. So think about sometimes the best sign of wisdom is to know what you don't know.
I don't mind comments, but I don't like personal comments. This is.
John telling me
Uh,
that I didn't do a good job as a supervisor.
I didn't say that.
Nancy, you were on the board when MS4 came through, just to let you know.
Donna, I don't know if it's only me or or everyone who's zooming in, but I can't hear a word you're saying.
Close the meeting then.
Only, I was wondering if maybe moving up, because we had talked about, December, January, taking a look at all of our budget, how much is spent, what percentage is spent and all that, trying to get a look for the next 6 months and then ahead to the next budget year. And maybe that would be a time for,
As we do at the end of summer.
yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it.
I'm gonna- All right, great. All right, so let me, get my glasses on. So I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:45.
Second it.
All right, thanks, Dave. I mean, Jim. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries 5-0. Thank you.